Welcome aboard Trucksama Strikes Again, your premier podcast for traversing the captivating realms of isekai comics. I'm your host, Tiffany, and joining me on this exhilarating journey is my co-host,
Maria.
Together, we're revving up our engines to explore the enchanting landscapes and epic adventures that define the isekai genre. So buckle up today. We're discussing the current manga that we are reading now, which is
Villains are destined to die.
Villains Are Destined to Die. Oh my god, I cannot remember the titles for the life of me. Okay. Villains are destined to die.
Anyways.
Yeah. Okay. So let's quickly recap. So today we're discussing chapter 3 and 4, but
And 5.
what's been happening so far? So to catch you up if you're needing a bit of a recap, so we were introduced to Penelope, our main female lead, but basically she was living a horrible life with her brothers, very much like just awful. She finally escapes to college, wonderful, plays this otome game, and all of a sudden she's sucked into the game. And now we're kind of caught up in her waking up, and there's suspicious needle marks and a very also suspicious maid that is looking at her. So starting off with 3.
Chapter 3 is called Third Time's the Charm. And basically, by the end of last chapter, we saw how the lovely maid who basically pinched her with needles on her arms served her delicious rotten food. And our female lead, Penelope, sadly is in an ultimate game, and she's given choices, and all 3 of them suck, right? 3, the first choice is, are you insane? Call the cook, and she flips the table. Second choice is, how about you stuff yourself instead? Feed the maid. And then the third one is to eat. And because she realizes that she has played this specific scenario in the game before, she knows which 2 choices she's not supposed to take. The first one leads to her eldest brother locking her up in the dungeon and her starving to death. Wonderful. The second one is her second eldest brother comes in and sees her, oh my god, mistreating the maid and making her eat the rotten food she was served, and somehow pushes her and she lands on a fork, so she's stabbed in the neck and she dies.
Yikes.
Not a good choice either. So the third one, she is forced to eat, because she knows that is the only choice that won't end in a game over. So her body moves on its own, and she starts eating the rotten food. And as she's eating it and as she's feeling terrible, one of her adopted brothers, the second eldest, comes into the room and sees her basically nearly throwing up, and he realizes the food is rotten. So he calls out the maid for feeding Penelope rotten food and sends her away to the dungeons to be locked up. And then he somehow shows somewhat of a concern by asking Penelope why she didn't make a scene like she usually did instead of eating the food. But as having played the game before, Penelope knows that Reynolds, the name of her second eldest brother, doesn't truly mean his words that much, and tells him not to bother as her second choice. So that's basically what happens in this chapter. It feels like very little, but there's so much to uncover.
Yes. we will get into it.
Okay, well, first of all, I cannot believe that the 2 other choices end up with such ridiculous deaths for Penelope. Because what do you mean she starved to death? What do you mean? What do you mean she starved to death? And how do you end up with a fork in your neck by being pushed off? Like, how does that even, like, I'm like, the developers of this game were just having fun coming up with these. Because how?
It's sadistic.
So that's my first comment. I cannot, when I was reading that, I was like, like, you wouldn't think those 3 choices would lead to her death, because they just seem so unimportant But I feel like this emphasizes how like a single misstep will lead to her death.
Yeah.
As ridiculous as it sounds. So,
Yeah.
ugh.
I feel like too, like this was such a I really love this plot point though, for the fact that it kind of upped the difficulty. I feel like sometimes isekai, they are so considered so OP that people get bored and they're like, "Oh, well, like they're already so overpowered, like we're just watching them like win all the time."
Mm-hmm.
But having this is, I think, very creative, and very much like part of the Otome games. I think at the time I didn't really see this kind of format. Obviously now there's like a couple more copycats,
Mm-hmm.
but also, Maria, you've played Otome games, right? There's some times in dialogue where I just speed through the choices. I'm not really caring what I choose.
Yeah.
So the fact she's weighing this so heavily, like that's so stressful. Like something that's so tedious that we're like, this is a boring part of the story. I'm just gonna skip through it.
Skip. Yeah.
Yes, like let me just choose the third option every single time.
Yeah, I don't know how. I mean, she can do it because she's been there before, but it just sucks.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what pisses me off is that when she starts eating the freaking food, the maid is like, "Huh?" It's like, what do you? I know she expected her to flip the table and like get mad because that's what she usually does.
Yeah.
But what do you do now, maid? Now that she's eating it, what she knows she's fucked because she's like, "Oh, really? You served me this? Okay, I'm gonna eat it," and now she's gonna get in trouble.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, also I want to point out that she can also get through this because later on in the chapters, in this specific chapter, we get a little bit more backstory of why Penelope is just able to eat rotten food, and it's because it's not a new experience for her. Apparently,
Yeah.
her brothers from her previous life messed with her food a lot, especially the second eldest, which led to her getting a lot of stomach illnesses like over and over. Ugh, like I cannot. It sucks because she's already done this and she's having to do it again. I cannot imagine eating rotten food and someone messing with my food at all times. Like I can't. One of the most relaxing experiences for me is eating. Can you imagine being so paranoid to just eat?
Yeah. Is this tagged a tragedy? Because honestly, like, if you look at it on paper, it's really sad. Like, it's not tagged tragedy, which is wild. It is tagged shoujo though.
I don't know about that.
I mean,
it says
I mean,
on tapas it says his romance fantasy. Where the romance at? Where's the romance?
For readers that may be confused, what shoujo means is basically well, the direct translation is for girl, but it's basically the genre for teen or tween girls. So it's usually like high school romance, like very fluffy and wholesome. So
girls crave the tragic past. This is what this is saying.
This is if you want to cry at 4 a.m. you can read this.
I mean, in Tappy Tune it's one of the tags is tragic past. But I feel like it's not even just the past. She's currently living a tragic life again. Ugh.
Is there an option for like, I don't know, like reincarnation, but make it awful? Like you're like, I finally gotten over everything, and it's like, just kidding. You're back at the bottom.
Here we go again. Yeah,
yes,
no.
It's very much that.
It's so sad. But the older brother, like, he sees her, like, throwing up, and she gets a flashback to her. Like, this is, like, what I was talking about when I talked about that she's been through this before. But she has a flashback where her second eldest brother in her pre-isekai life was basically like, go tell father if you think it's unfair. You can't, can you? Father doesn't pay any attention to you. No one cares if you starve or not, get bullied at school or don't, because you aren't really our family. Like, come on. And And we talked about this last episode, and I didn't realize that she's not even... Their father didn't cheat on the brother's mom. The father's wife died of an illness before Chashion was even born. But the brother still acted like she was like their mother's enemy. Like she's the reason why she died. It was like, she wasn't even born.
Yeah.
So this is more even about what the heck? Why do you treat her this way? Beforehand, in the last episode, I'm like, I mean, I would be pissed if my dad showed up with a kid because I would think that he cheated on my mom. But this is clearly, like, her age clearly shows that she was born after the mother died. So the dad didn't even have an affair. So why the heck are you... like projecting your anger at this poor girl who also lost her mom and was living in poverty before your dad finally put his pants on and decided to take care of his own child. Like, it pisses me off. Like, you really have no reason. You really have... Beforehand, I was like... I mean, it did not justify what they did to her, but I was like, I would be uncomfortable with living with a child that my dad had in an affair. But this is like, she's not even that. She's not even that. So what is your problem?
I feel like it's just like, I don't know, maybe if it's a cultural thing of like direct blood is more valued than like, I guess it's like, again, maybe the lack of appreciation for someone that's adopted into the family. Like, you're not actually family. Like, there's that underlying idea of like, you are less than me because I am of the same bloodline as my family and you are not. You're, what is it? Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like in K-dramas, like the heir where
the illegitimate,
yes.
Yeah.
You're illegitimate. Yeah. It's giving that energy a lot.
Yeah, you're right. It's just, it sucks. It just makes me feel so sad. Dejected when I read this. Because I'm like, I don't know if I would have the will to fight it. Honestly, I would just run away. But I don't know if she has a choice to do so. I don't know if she can. Because it's not part of the game. Right.
Yeah.
So it just sucks. So what do you do? What do you do?
That is what's very, like, commendable about Penelope is versus, like, I feel like I definitely agree. I'd be very discouraged if I had to go through the same struggle again. But in her instance, she, like, built up strength to be able to face it again, which is so optimistic and so, like, hero complex. I'm like, that's very commendable. Could not be me.
I mean, she's not even optimistic about it, though. Because over and over again, we see her being like, God dang it! Like, seriously, not this again! I feel like she wants to live out of spite more than anything.
Yeah, her stubbornness to, like, not give up. That's what I think it is. It's like pettiness of, like, I refuse to die. Or, like, I refuse to, like, meet, like, the worst end. Which is great, honestly. Like,
good for her!
I love, like, yes, good for her. She's not too good at, like, a Mary Jane kind of character.
Yeah.
She has, like, just the amount of imperfections to make her feel human, but still, like, aspirational in the sense of, like, she's fighting versus giving up.
You're so right. And then the moment that her, like, older brother steps in, the Reynolds, part of me is like, he showed concern. But then I'm like, no, he's not a good person. Do not let his, like, face fool you.
Yeah.
Because... I mean, he says it when he, like, gets mad. He tells the maid, you dare disrespect the Duke's household. It's not about mistreating Penelope as a human being, but more so that you dare disrespect my household, our title. How dare you? You're lesser than us. You're not allowed to do that. And I'm like, dang, bro. Like, they could have cared for her at a human level, but not even that. Not even that.
Yeah. It does feel like an out. It's like, do we give him... No, I don't want to give him any points at all, because it's just like, it's even below, like, basic human decency, because you have, like, a reason for helping her is, like, to benefit yourself of, I don't want my family's name to be looked down upon out of, like, a sense of pride.
Exactly. It's pride more than anything. It's not concern, it's pride. It's so sad. And then later on in that same chapter, first of all, I was so happy that the maid was just like, okay, take her away. I was like, thank you.
Jail.
Jail.
To jail.
Take her to jail. Please. Okay, and then, okay, listen. This is where I'm like, I would fold myself to the tiniest bit of attention because he's like, hey, are you okay? And he like touches her carefully.
I know.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
but no, you can't fall for it.
I know. And okay, I'm not gonna lie. His face is kind of my type. So annoying. Because it is like, I'm trying to remember you're ugly on the inside if you're ugly on the inside, then you're ugly on the outside. But like, it is kind of nice because it's like, it's a Prince Charming moment, you know?
Yeah.
Even though it's like the most bare minimum, like the bar is in hell. So, like,
Bar is not even on the ground, it's below.
Oh.
I like how she points out in this chapter how she's once again exposed to the same type of abuse that she lived in her past life because the people who were supposed to care for her turned a blind eye. Mm-hmm. It's all about neglect. Like, this whole thing happened because of, like, the neglect of her, like, on her previous life, the neglect of her father not, like, letting her brothers know that they're not supposed to be treating her, like, the way that she was being treated. And then here in this life, because of how the Duke and her brothers neglected her, it kind of fueled, it made the servants want to treat her poorly as well. It makes them, like, feel higher. Oh, I'm mistreating my mistress. I'm higher than this person. I'm superior. Yeah. Because I can do this to her and not even the Duke cares. You know? Like, they're taking out their frustrations of being in this system that they have, this hierarchy that this world has. They feel higher than her.
I always think with, like, these kind of situations, or, like, where it's, like, in a royal kind of setting, I'm like, I'm so lucky that this isn't what it's like in real life, but I think we're just more subtle about it now, because I always assume, like, oh, like, this sucks, like, who would actually do something like this? But I think again, it's like power play of, like,
it's a power trip.
Yes, exactly. There's, like, still subtle ways that we see this happening, and I think it's a good, sure, this is an exaggeration, like, people wouldn't necessarily serve you moldy food, but do we know if you're mean to a server, like, they will possibly spit in your food or put, like, whatever. We do love, like, the idea of, like, a revenge story, like, proving somebody wrong. Like, I think at the end of the day, we are quite, unfortunately so, attached to, like, our pride and power, even in, like, you could say this for, like, money or, like, popularity or, like, influence, but this is still, like, a very prevalent idea now of, like, you don't want to feel weak in a sense.
Yeah.
I didn't understand did you see the sunfish metaphor or the comparison?
Yeah, I get what that means. You want me to explain it to you?
I didn't know. I mean, I thought it was a very unique, like, I just never seen that.
Oh, I've seen it before. It's like the sunfish that doesn't
Really?
move and can't do anything about anything. It just kind of exists and it can die for whatever reason.
Oh, is that what it is? Because I am looking up pictures. I love her. She's just so vertical.
It is a pretty fish.
Like, it's a pretty fish, but yeah, I was like, is that a common thing? Yeah, I didn't realize, because they're, like, huge.
Yeah.
So, like, to think that, like, they're so, I don't know, maybe I'm reading too deep into it, but it's like, maybe the intended is, like, even though you're, like, in a rich family and you have, like, the name, you're still, like, little things, or, like, little, like, people that are technically, like, Parasite, unfortunately, I don't want to compare the maid to Parasite, but, like, someone that's technically lower class is what, like, ends up being your doom.
I think no, it literally there's it's like a literal saying in Korea where a sunfish, like, it's a joke in Korea that sunfish are so fragile that they die to anything. And I believe there's actually a game in Korea where you raise a sunfish and it often dies for the dumbest reasons, like dying because it got scared of its own shadow, kind of deal, you know, or brushed against a rock and it died. So that's it's like that. There's no, like, real metaphor. I don't think there's any real metaphor behind it. It's just like an inside joke for for Koreans, where, like, she literally will die, and it's true because we literally saw she can die from literally anything.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I didn't
I
know
like
that
that.
until I saw it on another. I don't remember what webcomic it was, but the female lead kept being compared to a sunfish, and like a chibi of a sunfish kept popping up, and I was like,
Yes.
"What does that mean?" And then I had to look it up to like understand it.
Yeah, yeah. This is really interesting because it's definitely not an American saying, but like I love that it's something so like at first it's like what stubborn like a donkey. Like I feel like that's not really something that we say in Asia.
Mm-mm.
But I love that there's like incorporations of like culture.
Yeah, I always loved
Depending
seeing
on
that and
like
learning about it.
yes. Because at first I'll like skip by like it'll go over my head, but these little things where like you're slowly getting immersed into the culture. Like it's nice to be able to learn about the culture in the sense of like media versus like, language classes sometimes don't get this nuanced.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely something that's really interesting and a fun way to learn if you're interested.
And then I actually really like how when she like mentions she would have folded had she not seen Penelope's death so many times. Let me try to find it. If I didn't know anything about this world, I would have been grateful for your concern. But I know that you didn't mean any of your words. And that to me, I feel like that is so close to like reality because many times I feel like this happens a lot with like abused, neglected people in which like they end up clinging to whoever gives them like attention, the attention that they've been craving, regardless of the true nature of the intentions, like the true nature slash intentions of that person. Like that's
Yeah.
very real. Like you see it
Yes.
every day with people where it's like, why are you with this person? And then it's because they were there, like they gave him that like affection that they had been missing, and they're just gonna stuck now.
Yeah.
But she's been there before and she's seen it. Yeah, vulnerable, preying on the vulnerable. I really like how they pointed to that because I was reading it and I feel like imagine we get like teleported into this world and we become Penelope and we didn't know anything about it. I would have actually like his concern would have touched me, but that's because I didn't know. I wouldn't know him, you know. But she's seen it before in this life and her past life, so it just kind of sucks that she like she just it's not like she expects the worst in people, but she can see through.
She's cautious.
Yeah. The second time that the options, the multiple choice pops up, when she chooses the don't bother option, it like to me it literally screams dejection. Like it's her being so tired of being treated that way, but knowing that whatever she does or how much, like no matter how much she does something to improve or how much she hopes for people to treat her better, it won't happen.
Yeah.
It's like
inevitable.
Inevitable. It's like don't even bother. Like it just like don't bother.
Yeah.
It's so sad. And I don't think that was even her choosing it as Penelope. That was truly her saying it as Chashyon, as like the OG female lead. Is like, at this point, I know your concern is nothing. Don't even bother kind of deal. It's so sad.
I thought those were the options though, because like it could have been. At first I was like, oh shoot, these are literally the worst options. Like there's no good option, I guess, to say. But like I feel like I would be much more like it feel much more hopeless if she had to pick like an option that was all positive. Like they're like, oh, thank you so much, or like I love you so much, like all of these responses.
Yeah.
Like, that would make me want to throw myself against a wall.
Oh,
Like,
can you imagine? Like, because thankfully Penelope is the villainess, so she's allowed to be more edgy. But can you imagine
Yes.
being like, imagine it was Yvonne and Yvonne was the one being mistreated by the brothers.
yeah.
And her
Yeah.
being like, oh no, this is totally fine. It's okay.
Yeah. Don't
Like,
worry about it. It's all
I
good.
would pop a vein. I would, like, I would be so
know.
pissed.
I think I would go insane, like just like so lack of control of your own body, where you're like, this really just feels like a hopeless situation where I just can't be honest. Like maybe I just let my survival instinct kick in and just be like, I'm just gonna disassociate and leave my body. What else happens?
Jesus, take the wheel, please. There was a comment that I read where I like completely agree with it. It was, it's more realistic that she has to live Penelope's miserable life than just be clever and is suddenly loved. Which is so true. Like you mentioned this earlier before, where there's so many isekai villainous stories where the villainous, like the female lead gets transported and becomes the villainous, and then they end up being so OP and somehow gain the affection of everyone that hated her so quickly.
Yes.
Or like, oh no, the father, it was a misunderstanding. The father loved her all along. Okay, then why did he leave her to die? Can we talk about
that? Like 3 titles that are like that.
Like, I don't like that she's miserable. Please do not take my words out of context. I like that it's hard and it's not all sunshines and rainbows like it usually is in some other ones, because you can actually take it seriously. Like there's stakes. Like there's stuff that she can actually lose, you know. When the other ones is like everyone comes to her rescue, or like she can see 20 pages ahead in this. She's super smart. She just figures it out. Penelope is realistically so human, because you can remember the choices and you can be smart, but she can still mess up, you know. Like she can still mess up and die, and they make that so very clear
now. We can't tell now, but like, I mean, in the future she gets in like some tight spots that are like it makes me like, well, heart palpitations. I'm like, well, what are we? I'm like in the boardroom with her, like, girl, okay, we have a disaster on our hands. What are we gonna? What's the PR team gonna do? How can we recover? How do we recover from this?
Yeah, literally, I think she, despite everything, she's handling this like a champ.
Our girl's doing great. She's doing great. I'm so proud of her. Like, and I just want to give her a hug.
I think I want to point out for like kind of to close this chapter, I wanted to point out my favorite comments that I saw. Yes. The first one is, God, I wouldn't last a day there. I'll choose the pettiest choices even if I die. Let's meet in hell, motherfucker. Because that's so real.
I saw that too.
And then
so I'm seeing one that says, this line pops up, I will be telling my father and brother about this. And then it's Draco Malfoy saying, my father will hear about this. I
mean, it's so true though. It's such a pretty, like, it's like a rich kid thing to say.
Yeah. It's very like daddy's girl, or like,
I mean, that was Reynold that said it. It wasn't even like Penelope. Another comment that I liked was, I would purge the whole place, burn it down, and become a notorious witch. Because,
I mean, again, runaway is the best option.
I just wish she could. We don't know if she can. Like, I think she has to stick to the scenes decided by the game. Can you imagine? Like, imagine the story where the female lead actually escapes, right? And she makes it very far, but then a scene needs to play and she's teleported back to where the scene is taking place. And she cannot escape no matter how far she goes. That would be terrifying. Yeah. I hope someone makes a webtoon with that.
That would be an interesting concept.
Right?
Yeah, because I feel like I've seen ones where they run away, but I've never seen one where like they're kind of forced back. Like,
by the system.
The male leads. Yeah. Oh, see, that's what's more terrifying. I'm not afraid of the male leads. I'm afraid of the system. I don't like when it's like the author, like the author writes around it to get you back on track, or like the game system like resets or like gives you the option.
No, that would suck.
Oh, I hate that. I hate it.
Well, thankfully, so far as we've seen, that's not happening in this webtoon. Okay.
Maggie. Wait, one more thing. Someone said, thing is, for food to be spoiled in the Duke's manor, people had to deliberately set it aside and save it. Poor OG Pen for having to live like that. Okay, I didn't even think about that. That's so depressing. I'm just more depressed.
Yeah, it wasn't, it cannot have been just the maid. That was deliberately by, like, everyone in that household.
She's getting bullied. This is not cyberbullying.
It makes me so sad. Okay. Time for chapter 4?
Yes.
Chapter 4 is called Negative is Still Negative.
obviously Reynold is kind of like taken aback by her response. He responds very coldly and is like, whatever, like not there's no doctor that's free enough to take care of you anyway. You can just like die if you want, which is
What?
that's a lot. This that's aggressive. Like the flip is like a little much, but this is when we see a new development. There's a love gauge or like percentage of like favorability
Mm-hmm.
that's now available. At this point, Pez's not doing it too hot. She's at a -3% with Reynolds, but apparently it was even worse because last night it was at -10%. But she doesn't really mind it. She's like, whatever, it's still negative. Watches her face and looks absolutely drop dead gorgeous. And then she just, like admires a little bit, as she should. She's just like, admiring, talking about her appearance, like magenta hair, turquoise eyes, a face that nevertheless seems vicious despite its beauty.
I don't really see the
Oh, the
viciousness.
viciousness? I don't think so either, but I'll take her word for it, I guess.
Continue.
Um, then she won then she wonders what's the game's description of Penelope. And in hard mode, it goes from the perspective of the villainess, Penelope. And so she presses a button to see the character introduction for Penelope. Um, oh, it's this gorgeous screen of just like what you would imagine an Otome game like character introduction look like. Like I can imagine the name and the description popping up sequentially, and all these sparkly flower stuff pops up. And basically, Penelope, of course, daughter of the Duke, she is the daughter of the one and only Eckerd Dukeship in the Empire of Yorka, where this game takes place. However, she was originally a no-name commoner girl. Her widowed mother was a poor traveling merchant, and when Penelope lost her to sickness at the age of 12, her resemblance to his long-lost daughter caught the eye of the Duke, and he adopted her. But as time passed and she grew up, the pink hair of the dead Duchess, more the blue eyes, symbolic of the house, was really seen to her. So she became more and more different, and she then got referred to as the fake daughter and just overall neglected by everyone. And she just goes around doing wicked things to like get attention. But what's the circumstances behind the person who became the world's greatest villainess? So our villainess then, Penelope then wonders, like, if he searched so hard for his daughter, then why did he have to bring an innocent girl into this? Like, the fake daughter, she says this that she's an unsatisfying knockoff, which is just really sad. But she compares herself to Penelope, that, she lived in poverty, her mom died, and then she was taken in, and then she lived in isolation and was
Mm-hmm.
kind of ignored by everyone in the house. And she's coming to the realization, we predicted this, but she's coming to the realization like I'm definitely more closer to Penelope than I am to Yvonne. But then she looks back and she's like, at my current life I had escaped, and I coped so long to kind of get this reward of finally being able to be on my own and escape from my brothers. She's like kind of frustrated because it's like it's not even normal mode. It's even worse. So she's just kind of very frustrated. She knows what's coming because she's played the game. If there was like kindness or like genuine humanity, there shouldn't be the things that were happening to Penelope. And just overall, she's like just kind of almost like out of outrage, out of sadness, like
Yeah, she's reminiscent on the fact that she had gotten
yes.
away and now she's back into this.
Yeah, like, because when you put it all on paper, she's like, Penelope was only 12 when she was adopted. There seems to be no one that's in her corner. And she described this as a villainess of creation, where a young child that can't do anything and the adults won't listen. And no matter what she does, no one is listening. So she kind of goes through, like, I feel like the 7 stages of grief. And she's like, but who am I pitting? Like, I'm literally the person.
Yeah, she's like, I am
now.
Penelope now.
Yeah.
And then she's like, okay,
so
let's get to business though.
yes, let's get to business because I could die at any point at the hands of the male characters. Like, let's make a plan. She's pulling out paper and pencil. She's like, I'm ready. We're gonna find a way to live. I just need like write down all the information,
So
like
she
what kind of game
remembers.
this is. Yes, this world I enter, like how the system then has a pop-up that says in Daughter of the Duke, Love Project, hard mode. It is extremely difficult to accumulate affection, and it is also easy to lose affection. Wonderful. There's a follow-up. Unlike normal mode, where the base is 30%, hard mode starts with a base affection of 0%. Special male protagonist starts with negative affection. Then, when this affection score is negative, the probability of death ending in the story is high. So now we're kind of understanding the full scope of, okay, what would happen if it is at a negative score, which we saw Reynolds was. Okay, then she kind of kicks off to let's get to know the characters a little bit.
And
this is for Penelope's benefit and also ours.
So that's where like chapter closes. Yeah, there was a lot of interesting things.
Yes.
It doesn't seem like a lot didn't actually happen in like not many scenes happened, but so much has happened.
Yeah.
Because
lots of information
thrown at you. But I feel like they did it in a really good way.
Yes.
But the first thing I wanted to point out how Reynold is a total tsundere. Like,
ooh, for sure.
He's like,
sure,
he shows concern, but then she's like, don't bother. And he's like, well, fuck you then. Like, hello?
The flip was so fast. Like, not even a second.
No, because then his affection went up. Like, what did it go up?
Yeah, he doesn't actually say what
he means. And then this is actually my confusion, and I don't know if it's just me, but is she remembering the game description, or is the actual system window showing up in front of her? Because when she thinks about it, like what kind of game the world I've entered is, you can see her holding her phone, so it's like she's remembering what the system said. But I'm like, girlie, verbatim. Verbatim?
That is tea.
You remember everything?
Very good point.
I'm like, do you have photographic memory that we don't know about?
She's kind of a genius. Because, okay, I will say, I think you're right. Because if you see her nail polish, the nail that she has is like a nude color. Mm-hmm. Whereas Penelope's is like, a vibrant, like magenta. Right. So I think it is her memory.
But the first time when she like introduces Penelope, like, you don't really think about the nail color. You would think. I initially thought it was like the window system popping up for her.
That's what I thought too.
And then she's like, "Oh yeah, I want to know more about my character," because that's how other like manhwas have done it.
Yeah.
Because by the end of it, I was like, "Why are you writing down the stuff if you just have the system always there?" But it's because she's remembering what the system said, not that the actual system is there. The system only shows up for the choices. Yeah. I felt so like, it's like, what? Scratching my head, being like, why are you writing it down? The thing is right there for you.
I feel like that's a trope though, Like, I love when they pull out that pen and paper.
Yeah, it always happens. One thing I do want to point out is I really hope she's writing it in like Korean or something. That she's not writing it in like their native language. Because can you imagine like finding a list of names in your like them if the maid finds that? Like a list of names of the people in the household. It's like, why does she have a list? What is she trying to do with it?
Super sus, yeah.
I just really hope, because I feel like what webtoon was it? Surviving as a Hero's Wife, was it? Well, another webtoon that I read, the actual female lead wrote in Korean. So
I remember some that do that.
And I was like, oh, that's smart. That's smart.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm thinking about it. Can you imagine if the maid finds the Korean words on the paper and she's like, she's a witch?
No, because
what is this language?
That's a genuine fear for real.
Like, you don't know. She can get accused of anything at this point.
No, yeah, she's vulnerable. She's definitely like subject to anything at this point.
No, yeah. That's what I was thinking while I was seeing it. And then another concern that I had was she says that when she was younger, she had kind of like faintish pink color and like more dull eyes. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but eyes and hair don't really get bolder and darker as you age, right?
That's what I was confused about too.
Like I know that sometimes hair changes color because my brother and my dad's hair was literally blonde when they were kids, and now they have like darkest hair ever. Like I know that can happen, but the eyes, the eyes.
I know.
And I was like, "What do you mean?
I don't know.
She changed."
Oh, okay. I will say, is it like kind of maybe I'm reading into it too much? Because like I feel like sometimes they say like girlies with like hazel or like green eyes, they'll be like, yeah, when I was a baby, it used to be more of this like rich brown with like flakes or flecks of green, but now my eyes are just fully green. And
I
then, like,
mean,
when you go
that was when
outside-
she was a baby. That can happen when you're a baby, not a child. She was a child.
Oh yeah, because she's 12. She's fully
She's
12.
12. That's what I'm saying.
She's 12.
Like, okay, I can understand her hair also looking dull because she's poor and she doesn't have a shower. She can't, like, she has no one taking care of her hair and her appearance. That I can understand. You know, I could see that. The eyes is the part where I'm like, what?
She's wearing colored contacts.
And then, what other thing? Ooh, I remember last episode how you mentioned that you thought like Penelope's, like OG Penelope's villainous actions felt more like tantrums for attention.
Yeah.
And I like this chapter like completely proved you right, because it literally says how since there is very little a young child can do when the adults won't listen no matter how much he shouts. That literally confirms it.
Yeah.
OG Penelope wasn't doing it out of resentment. It wasn't even like, it was literally just like, please look at me. Can you care for me for 1 second in your life? I still do think it's also like a little bit like her own way to fight back to like the mistreatments. Because if you notice it, like Reynold is very surprised at Penelope's dejected actions of just eating the food. He's like, why are you not flipping the table like you usually do? Like that's how she stands up for herself. And how she's like, hey, look at me. Look at what they're doing to me.
Yes.
But this time she just, shut her mouth and ate the food. And he's like, what is going on? This is not you.
Yeah.
Kind of deal, you know?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I love how that was a callback to what you said last time, where you're like, she's a child throwing tantrums for attention. And that's literally what she's doing.
I'm so glad you remember what I said. That's gonna make me blush. But I think it's like, this is very tropey. I feel like I've seen villainous characters like this, where like, one, I feel like villainous characters are honestly the more innocent type, because usually they're like more of a tsundere, where like they don't actually like say like mean things out of like ill will or mean spiritedness. But two, male villains on the other hand, like they are evil. Like
they're like, I want to watch the world burn because I like fire.
Very much that. I'm like, whoa. What happened to hello? What happened to how are you? Like, it's very interesting. It's like the tantrums are immediately associated with childishness, and then when you're silent, it's maturity. I feel like is also something that I've commonly seen is like, oh, she's all of a sudden like so quiet, like she must have finally matured. And I'm like,
maybe she's just so dejected she wants to die. Have you thought about that?
Maybe she's just depressed.
Maybe she's just depressed. Yeah, I feel like a lot of she's gone. What happened? Her Wi-Fi went out. You good?
It went out for a second. I'm back though.
Okay, I wanted to point out how in other stories I've seen how like the villainess mostly like does bad things to the female lead because the female lead is going after their fiance. Or their fiance is
That
straight
is
up just
tea.
like publicly cheating on them with this new
Yeah.
female lead. And the female lead is like so innocent. No, it's okay. I deserve it. I was like, yeah, bitch, you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, I
Like,
don't
you
like
do.
that they get mad at the woman because I'm very much pro like be mad at the man.
But it like
But
I hate
like,
when it happens. Like it's how can you do that to her? She's so angelic. She's so nice. She's so graceful. She takes
but
your
she's
mistreatment with
also
a smile. But she's also
she's a homewrecker.
I hate when that
She
happens.
Yeah, because what is up? I feel like it's just like it's snake behavior where you're
Snake.
like, yeah, like while she might be outwardly upset and like reflect like showing with actions her like upset and anger, but like the female lead is like the OG female leads are usually not any better.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Oh,
I feel like if anything, I never really like the love interest or like the the innocent kind of character that comes
the
in
the
that's supposed to
Mary the
combat
Mary Mary Jo where
the
she's
Mary
like
Janes.
Jane's that
Yes,
she's
the
Mary
Mary.
Jo. We can just give all the money to the poor, and then it's like,
Yeah.
do you have a plan?
But also
Do
but also she's
you
wearing the fanciest dress.
and like always being given the most lavish gifts by the crown prince who's using the like the
Yeah.
national treasury to give her gifts while the poor are starving. And then she's like, let's just use all the nation's money to like feed the poor with no actual plan. Like, girl, that's gonna lead to
Yeah.
like a
Let them eat cake.
yeah, no, you don't like I remember what story it was. It was actually, I don't know if it was I think it was made into a webcomic, but I was reading it
Mm,
as a novel. Let me see if I can
yeah.
pull it up
Find it.
because it like made a very big contrast because over the Mary Janes and the
Yeah.
villain is being like, you do realize how detrimental that would be to like our entire like economical system,
Economy.
right? Like our economy.
Yeah.
Like it's called Accomplishments of the Duke's Daughter. It's called.
Mm.
It is so good. I always read it when I'm like on a plane because I can just read it, like download it on my Apple Books and read it. But it basically shows that contrast that I like the Mary Janes of like always being so nice to everyone and not really thinking through the consequences of her actions and her words.
Yeah.
But we haven't yet met Yvonne, so we don't know how she'll
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
But I don't have high hopes.
I
You're back.
I know. What is up with it today? Goodness me.
One inconsistency that I kind of found was how
Okay.
they say how she's the greatest villainess. How Penelope, OG Penelope, is the greatest villainess. But I don't even think she did that much in the normal mode to like of the game to even be considered the greatest villainess.
Was it just because she was bratty?
Yeah, and also like I think I don't even remember if this is part of the actual story. I think she tried to poison Yvonne,
But
but
that didn't happen yet, right?
I don't know. Like they just say she's the greatest villainess, but they haven't shown us how. Like so far in all the pictures, it just kind of looks like she was bratty and like more than bratty, she like stood up for herself, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like calling her the world's greatest villainess. That's a very heavy title to give someone.
Is it rumors? Because, like, I mean, okay.
But that's a
rumor
system,
mill,
though.
right?
That's apparently the system, the game system, giving her that title. Yeah, I
Well,
was like,
she is said to be materialistic. I mean, we haven't really seen that.
Yeah, last episode we're like, where are the jewels?
Yeah, it is, like, very confusing. I feel like it's because we're, like, kind of cutting into, like, a part where the story hasn't developed where she's quote unquote the world's greatest villainess. Because, like, I mean, at least at this point, we
But
don't
will
really...
we ever see it though? Because like Chashion took
no.
over Penelope now, so we don't. I don't know if they'll ever
yeah.
show how OG Penelope actually was. Which I
Yeah.
wish we got a little bit of that, because I don't know if she truly deserves
Do
the
we have
title.
flashbacks?
Not so far,
That
no.
I feel like I remember flashbacks, but We'll see. I do hope for that as well, because I want some concrete proof of why she's
The
considered
villainess.
a villainess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then Penelope also makes a great point when she asks, like, why the hell didn't her adopted dad try to find Yvonne first instead of picking her up like a random kid on the street?
Girl,
It's like,
I don't know.
did you try to look for Yvonne before you picked this girl up? Can you imagine, like, you get kidnapped, you disappear, and then your dad, instead of trying to look for you, he just, like, looks at a kid on the street, like, you'll do.
Replaces you?
You'll do.
Yeah.
And the mystery is the
that's
kid that he
wild.
picked up.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Does he really care for Yvonne? Because the brothers do.
The brothers definitely do. We don't
But,
know
like-
about the Duke. We haven't met him yet.
We'll see. We'll table this for
Put a pin on it.
conversations for pin up and it will back burner it.
I truly think that rather than the greatest villainess, Penelope was, as Chashyon said, a villainess of creation. Like, that was a villain. Like,
Oh, yeah.
can you blame her for becoming a villainess? I wouldn't.
Oh.
You know? So, it's very interesting. And then I want to point out how, okay, at the end, it's like when she says that she's starting to introduce the characters, but she's like thinking, it's like, okay, the first one is Derek Eckhart, right? And he's like the eldest one. He literally sent her to a dungeon to starve to death. And the Duke said nothing. I feel like that really, really reflects what we're about to get into with this story. And then
Yeah, Derek is the worst.
I don't think I'll ever like him. And then Reynold,
No.
Reynold, he has his face, man. It's the face.
He's much more bearable in comparison, but I think it's like we're putting up with for comparison purposes.
Yeah. And honestly, if you ignore all of Reynolds' wrongdoings and actions, I really wish we got more male leads like him, and not action-wise. Once again, ignore all wrongdoings and actions, like just the pretty boy, right? I really like the pink hair rather than the usual blonde or black hair with colored eyes.
Yes.
You know, like it's just something so different. And also, his outfit kind of pops.
I was gonna say
It's so good.
It's very
different.
It's very very playful. I feel like I've seen this. It's a good contrast to like the serious brother. And I love that it's honest. Okay, for close to like because if you analyze kind of some of what the fashion says about the character really quickly, Penelope puts on a cardigan and she looks like so small and just like so like quiet, like, or just like reserved.
Yeah.
And I think that's much more her personality in comparison with like the va-va-voomness of the strappy nightgown that's like
with the bows and
very,
the frilly the frilly top and the kind of opened up chest.
Yeah. I think with the cardigan it's much more like Taeshyun's personality
and like wanting to hide, like, don't see me, like, please ignore me, do not talk to me, I am not here, let me live.
Yeah. With Reynold, it's like he has that little bow, the jacket that's not all the way on, the strappy like leather belt.
The bows on his boots.
Like, oh, I didn't even see that. Girl, wait, why is he kind of he's doing it for the girlies.
Right?
He is doing it.
It's kind of cunty.
Like it's kind of cunt. Like I'm sorry to say, like she ate, you know? Like
hate his character so far, but
hate it. Character design, however.
Character design is beautiful.
Yes, like it's still got those like hints of pink as well, which is so uncommon.
I really wish we had more pink-haired male leads. I'm so tired of the Duke of the North with white hair or black with red eyes, or the crown face with blonde hair and
red eyes. Yeah.
It just I'm so tired of it. I wish we had more male, like more playful male leads like this. But we don't ever really get them.
Yeah, it's very like pirate-esque is what I'm madly like think of. It kind of makes him feel like he's an adventurer. Like he kind of fits that second son energy of like, the one that's actually in charge.
Like he's
I can
allowed to
go,
do everything kind of deal.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I kind of am I'm the middle child that's allowed to do everything, but also is like respected and has all the powers still.
Right, because he still has the pretty, like the pretty belt and like the gem on his neck
Yes,
and like the gold
yeah,
buttons everywhere. Like he's
the
still very
true
much a rich
villainess.
kid, but he has fun with it.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Too many, honestly, too many accessories. Why are you wearing so many accessories? What for?
You're right. I do like that he has bracelets. I feel like I never see any male leads with bracelets.
He's got everything, girl. He's got a beaded belt. He's got two bracelets on his hand. He's got
Mm-hmm.
the bow accent, the necklace, even little black studs. I noticed that.
Ah.
I'm not gonna pretend I didn't see that. I saw that immediately when I saw his little ears. I was like, okay, earring.
Oh, you're right. He does have studs.
Yeah, but it's inconsistent. We do not see it sometimes, which, I don't blame
Oh,
the
I think he
author
only.
sometimes.
Oh no, you're right. We don't see it sometimes. Some panels have it, and some other panels don't.
Yeah.
Interesting. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw it last chapter. He had last chapter he had earrings. This chapter he just took them off.
Yeah. Just, fastly, like, just taking them off between sentences. Going back, I think, though, like, with Penelope's, like, oh my gosh, she has a full. I didn't realize how much of a breakdown it was when she was talking about her past life.
Mm.
Like, she goes from, like, for one, looking kind of at the positives. Okay, I'm gorgeous. I'm stunning. And then she gets, like, into a more depressive state of, like, okay, this is the situation at hand. Let me question, like, externally what's happening around me. Like, I can sense such a low self-esteem when she's, like, able to say, you're an unsatisfying knockoff of the real heroine. Like, that's so much deeper, I think, in inside of her, of like how she views herself to be able to project like this. Because those are harsh words to say about someone, but to like, I can tell that she's probably thought about this a lot.
Yeah.
And then there's a sense of like sympathy where she's like, I didn't know we were so similar while playing the game. And then she's looking back at like how good she had it before, of like, it might have sucked. My apartment was small, New York level, small, but it was mine. And
She had gotten
now
her
she's
own
going into a
home,
rage.
and yeah.
She goes into a rage and she's like, this is the hard mode too. Are you joking?
She's like, this is no better than before. I think she specifically brings up, I feel like the artist once again brings up how frustrating and demoralizing it is that she had worked so hard to get her independence in her previous life, just to get stuck in a situation that is actually no better than she was in her previous life.
Exactly.
I think the artist is trying to like show you like this is how crappy the situation is. Like she is having a rough time. But I feel like
going through it.
It is time for chapter 5, so we can actually introduce the male leads before we close it off. Chapter 5's title is called Choosing the Safest Route. So Penelope's gonna sit down and she's writing down what she knows about each male lead. And there is 5. Some of them romantic, others just familial, right?
Yeah.
But the first one she introduces is the eldest son, Derek Eckhart, age 24, height 6'1", because that's important. Mm-hmm. And his, like, the little panel that, like, the game panel that shows, his quote is literally, I am temporarily removing Eckhart from your name. Wow, this gives us a lot of hope. And the description is, a severe and cold noble, Derek is the eldest son and heir to the Eckhart dukeship. Is it dukeship or dukedom? What's the... I want to know.
I feel like it's dumb, but...
Dukedom, right?
Well, I mean...
Yeah, that's the wrong word. Okay, I was just... My brain was like, what? It says, though he has no interest in Penelope as he is preoccupied with inheriting the dukedom, he appears to harbor hatred and contempt for Penelope for taking the place of his younger sister. So he's already blaming the poor girl. And then the next character, the second male lead, also the first 2 male leads, I'm pretty sure is strictly familial. Second is Reynold Eckhart. his character's quote is, "You should have pissed off when we asked nicely." Joy. Age 20, height 6 feet. And
Lame.
boo, tomato. We met him 2 chapters ago, and he's someone closer in age to Penelope. He's the bad-tempered second son of the Duke, and apparently has a foul mouth. And this is what it says. He actively tries to get Penelope in trouble, and the system warns Penelope he's the one she should watch out for most. Yikes. And then Penelope recognizes that they're the same way that her pre-isekai brothers were. She's like, they're basically the same as the bastards in my family. But she mentions how these 2 brothers were the easiest to win in normal mode because, Yvonne was her actual lost sister. They're going to be terrifically happy that she's back, you know? So their ending they ended up becoming a harmonious family, right? But Penelope is not related by blood, so the story is different from the normal mode. So she's like, hell no, and scratches their names out. She's like, they're not even an option. There is no hope. And I feel like she's right. So she quickly gives up on gaining any of their affection. Fair enough. And then and this is kind of sad, she says, and even hearing the word brother makes me shiver now. The next male.
Oh, I'll save that for later. Keep going.
The next male protagonist is the Crown Prince. Can you guess what this prince looks like? You guessed it. He's blonde with red eyes because he obviously has to be. His name is Callisto Regulus. He is age 20, height 6'2". And wow. The Crown Prince of the Empire of Iorka is a cruel tyrant who treats humans like dirt. Oh joy. Maybe there is an ill-fated reason for his disposition. But then the system warns Penelope that she hasn't interacted with Callisto enough in Penelope's point of view to get more information. So that's all we get of the prince, right? And she tries to remember back to normal mode and what she knows about him. And the only thing she knows is that he magically gets reformed when Yvonne gets introduced. And he punishes Penelope for being the villainess. But in heart mode, what she does remember is also her dying over and over again to him. She compares him to the Grim Reaper. And that Penelope died at his hands more than anyone else's in heart mode. So, yikes. She really scratches out that name. Like, really scratches out his name. He's like, I'm not even getting close to this man. The fourth one is actually our oldest male lead of the bunch. He is Winter Verdandi. He is age 26, height 6'1". And he has silver hair. And apparently, and I really find this funny, he is a marquis, a sorcerer, and also holds a secret identity of an eccentric merchant who deals with info and secret objects. The artist was like, cannot come up with more male leads. 5 is enough. I'm just gonna put all the characteristics of this one person into this man. He gets all the titles.
All the above.
All the above. And then same thing happened as Callisto. Penelope doesn't know enough about him in Penelope's point of view. So, but what she does remember in normal mode is that he basically helps Yvonne reveal her identity in normal mode. So that's a yike. And then also served as Yvonne's shield against Penelope's attacks and help her become well known. So he made her famous, right? But Penelope doesn't remember much about him in heart mode because she never really got that far. She kept getting killed by the other 3 male leads. So she keeps him as a contender. She's like, okay, doesn't seem that bad because it seems like he genuinely cared about Yvonne. You know, he seems like a nice person. I'm not going to scratch his name out. And then the 5th one is Eklis. And he is actually Penelope's age. He's age 17, 18, and his height is 6'1". And he's a our youngest of the bunch, and he's originally a noble from a fallen kingdom who got enslaved, and he becomes the apprentice knight of the dukedom as his sword skills catch the duke's eyes. He eventually becomes a sword master in the later half of normal mode, but not much is known about him from Penelope's point of view, because once again, she never got that far. She has the most hope for him, as he was the only one to actually show OG Penelope sympathy till the very end, as he once served her. Like, she was his mistress. But, once again, didn't meet him in her hard mode runs, so she doesn't know how he'll react. But, she has the most hope, so she circles his name. And she acknowledges that she kept getting stuck in heart mode, so her information about this mode is severely limited. And she doesn't know that if the rules of the original game system apply to this reality. But she says that she's sure of two things. She cannot let any male lead's protagonist affection score drop to negative, because that means her death. And she has to achieve 100% and reach an ending before Penelope's coming age of ceremony. Why, you ask? Because that's when the game's female lead comes in, Yvonne. That is the day that she returns. The heroine returns in the game. And that's when the setting of hard mode... Okay, so the setting of hard mode happens a little bit earlier than the normal story. And Penelope knows that if she doesn't reach an ending before the heroine gets introduced, the story will progress into normal mode for Yvonne. So that means she's definitely gonna die. There's no doubt that all the other male protagonists will try to kill her. Because that day, Penelope loses everything because the Duke's real daughter comes back. And she recognizes that now there's a huge risk of a game over. But then, if it gets to that point, there is no hope. So, realistically, all that would await me would be the death at the hands of the male protagonist. So she's like, that cannot happen. And this is where we see her strong will. She's like, after finally escaping my abusive family in my past life, I will not die in this game. She says she refuses to die. We love that for her. And she wants to return to her previous life where she got away from everything. I will most definitely survive and return to my life without fail. But then her little monologue gets cut short because the butler knocks on her door and abruptly opens it, and he's like, the Duke wants to see you. And then dun, dun, the chapter ends. Dun dun dun. But I have some thoughts.
I do too.
You begin.
Why did she change her clothes? I noticed that she washed her face and then all of a sudden she changed her clothes. I was like, this is so sudden.
Wait, did she have different clothes when she... Okay, yeah. She washed her face and she changed. No, you're right.
Yeah. I was like, okay, maybe...
Oh, I didn't even notice that until you pointed it out.
Because, okay, we get some of the, when they have a good maid, they help her get ready. Imagining her pulling on all this, fluff and, flounce of these gowns from, the late 18 or 1700s. Could not imagine. Because that's just a lot of fabric that she has to work through by
herself. And when she's never done it before. That's the catch, too. Hey, she's never done it.
Yeah. Hey, I'm proud of her for even just getting it on so fast.
We love her. We love her for all that. One of the things that... Okay, you know how I said I really hope she wrote this in Korean? Do you see the way she scratched out their names?
Yeah.
This looks like a hit list.
It does look like a hit list. It's even more suspicious.
I really hope, because can you imagine someone that's against her in this household finding this and being like, Duke, look what she did.
Yeah, it's definitely good ammunition.
Well, let's hope it doesn't come back to bite her.
What were your initial impressions of the male leads?
Well, we I feel like we talked enough about the other two siblings. So
Period.
I'll talk about Callisto. I mean, we don't know much about him. So we don't know why he treats people like dirt and what his circumstances are.
Yeah.
So I can't say much about it, except that his outfit's kind of cool. I like how his cape looks very similar to his hair. I like his his hair, how it's styled. So I feel like it's very cool. And I feel like his cape. I just noticed his cape matches Penelope's dress, the one that she's wearing right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's the same red and black.
Yeah.
Literally the same shade.
I always thought I don't know, something like very, it reminds me very like present. Maybe it's the bow, the purple bow is pointing me off. Like everything else I think looks really normal, but the campiness of the purple bow is just really
it does seem out of place. You're right. But oh my god, he's matching with our.
She is. So that's what I was thinking is like he's the only one that has in the dialogue a question mark, like a left of a question, which makes me feel like it's like leaving room for him to become
someone better.
Her male lead.
Lead. You're so right. All the other ones are
because he's the only one. So it's like he's so much set apart from that.
You're also, so right.
They're younger than I imagined.
Yeah, she's 17. I'm pretty sure because she needs to have her coming of age ceremony.
Oh, yeah, but I was like, they don't look.
She don't look 17, especially supposedly a 17 who has been starving. Like she's being starved. She doesn't look.
Yeah.
Like
we have to use our imagination a little bit here.
Thinking caps
for sure. Suspending reality.
But yeah, you're so right. And it's also giving he's a terrible person. But maybe there's a reason why. Like that's literally what this thing is saying. So we have to put our rose-colored glasses on. This is what this is telling us. Next time he does something, maybe think about his perspective. But he's a walking red flag for her. It's literally a death flag. He's a death flag. So I don't know. I feel like she's just gonna be so scared to talk to him in general, to truly form
for sure
a relationship. So we'll see how that goes. For Winter, honestly, I love the academia style of clothing he has. I really like the checkers design on his
checker print, right?
Mm-hmm. I really like it, and I like the purple. Purple is cute. Yes. I feel like they put too many characteristics for this one person.
For sure. Like,
it just seems like he's this, and he's also secretly this. Like, oh, my bad. What else is there to discover?
Jack of all trades.
But apparently he's one of the ones that apparently was truly courteous and romantic. And he held nothing back in helping Yvonne both materially and spiritually. So, but you mentioned the question mark, like in the end of Callisto's thing, but she herself writes a question mark by underneath Winter's name. Like she's the one that writes a question mark.
Yeah.
So I feel like these two are the strongest contenders for her love. Because Eccles, he's the one closest in age. I just really do not like the power play that he is her slave.
The power dynamic seems a little icky.
Like, he's gonna want to be in her good graces. He's literally her slave. Like, I don't know how I'll feel about it. Because he literally has a collar.
I know.
He literally has a collar. I can't. We'll see. Apparently, he's the only one that truly showed her sympathy in her OG life.
Yeah.
I just don't know how I feel about a romantic relationship. Because it's just too imbalanced.
Messy.
It's too messy.
Yeah.
But she's the one that has the most hope in him, so... we'll see. We'll see.
Because, I think if you think about it in percentages of, like, I'm feeling like the most logic on paper, he does seem like the most likely to have a positive percentage. Because for Winter, I imagine he's probably at 0 with like no association to her.
Yeah.
Callisto is probably like also negative, like along the sides of her brothers, if not a little bit more like murderous. But maybe that's where her mind's at. Because the percentages are something to take account of because it's
Did he?
literally like
Maybe it's
stats.
because I mean she never got to him, to Eccles in
Yeah.
hard mode, so she doesn't know if he actually ever killed her.
Right. Right.
But I don't know. I don't know how I feel. Again, do not like the power dynamic in that one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he can, I guess, since he was still sympathetic to her in the other life, and how he still seemed to somewhat care about his old mistress. Again, his mistress.
Yeah.
Not like it's very clear it's not coming from a like, oh, they were friends. And they're like, no,
Right.
she was literally his master. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well,
I think though Penelope's not necessarily looking at it romantically. I think she's just looking at it strategically of
oh,
who can
she's
I
not.
get to 100%.
Yeah, she's not looking to
Our
get a
girl,
boyfriend. She's looking to survive.
yeah. Yes, yeah. He's like, what chess piece can I play that will get me to the end goal? So I think that is another trait of like Penelope's that I do like, that she's very human in that sense. Like these like Mary Jane characters are like these holier than thou characters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you would never see them play this kind of card, but she's willing to because of her will to live. Because she's like, at the end of the day, my priority is my survival. So
Mm-hmm.
how can I get there?
You're right. You're very right.
Thank you.
Well, fingers crossed that she can get to a happy ending. But I feel like that's
Yeah.
all the characters, all the male leads we needed to get introduced to. Next chapter, apparently we're meeting the Duke. So that's
Yes.
I'm excited to see how that goes. Also,
It really puts
who
you
the hell
under-
does this butler think he is to just get into a girl's room? Just like as a man, not even as a butler. Like he knocks and just enters. What if she was changing?
That's what I was thinking too. It's very like,
I don't respect you.
it's just, I don't respect you. Like, it's just, yeah. Like, it's clear that there's just a lack of respect. But, oh, this author is so good at just these good lip hangers of what's coming up next is
Mm-hmm.
not like an like uncomfortable cliffhanger, but like it makes you intrigued to see
Yeah.
what's happening next.
It's like we've met all these terrible male leads.
Yeah.
How could the
Next
dude
one.
be any worse?
Uh-huh. Yeah. But our girl has her game plan. She knows what she's gonna do. Now is just another challenge, that's another wrench that's thrown in her way.
Yeah. I just think it's very sad that she has such bad traumatic past, like such a bad traumatic past life, that she shivers at just hearing the word brother.
Oh, I thought of it as like disgust. That's what I was thinking earlier when you said that. Like, I can't even imagine saying that. That gives me chills.
It's like, I guess you're kind of right. It's like, I can't even imagine you. I can't even call you brother.
Yeah, because disgusting. It's like saying like I love you to someone that's like, or like acting cutesy for like a guy. It's like, ugh, gross. I'm gonna throw up.
I never saw it that way. I just thought it's like, oh man, not another pair of brothers that are just so crappy.
Yeah, I can definitely see it that way too.
Favorite comment though, female lead wouldn't have been having this much hard time if she was the type to cheat and look at walkthroughs after getting a game over too many times. Which we brought this up last episode. I would have done that. Like, she would have not been going through this if she just looked up the tutorial, man. 'Cause she spent hours on that hard mode. Just look it
Girl, I
up.
know. She would have never been here. Her patience is crazy. That's why she's a determined character.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite comment, this is in reference to the butler, because that was the last panel that we saw.
I think I know which one.
A rat. A rat.
Just a rat. No, she didn't. This
I-
person didn't have to clarify who they were
No.
talking about. We all knew.
No. Yeah. It was just the genius of just 2 words. Oh, I giggled.
Yeah, that's it for this episode. We got through 3 chapters.
Yes.
I'm excited to meet the Duke next time.
Yes.
Thank you for boarding the Isekai bus and joining us in this awesome journey through Villains Are Destined to Die. We will see you next time and start with chapter 6.
Bye-bye.
Bye guys, thanks for watching.